Verify that.
As the uncleanness of a separation. Verse 27. And whosoever toucheth those things shall be unclean, and shall wash his clothes, and bathe himself in water, and be unclean until evening.
I'm saying, Aluda is saying he's reflecting on his childhood in his tribe, in his land, before he was kidnapped and sold into slavery. Okay? Let me get real quick, let me get page 49.
This is page 49 of The Life of Oluda Equiano. All the nations and people I had hitherto passed through.
So we know that in the Great Captivity, right? The Ma'afa, right? They say that, well, not they say, what happened was the African people, the so-called African people that dwelled inland, a lot of the tribes that existed on the coast was hired by Europeans to go in, kidnap them, bring them to the coast. Am I right? So Aluda, in this part of the book, is reflecting on after he got kidnapped and his journey from the inland to the coast. So the people that kidnapped him is bringing him through all of these different parts of Africa just to get him to the coast. So when you read from the top, when he says the people that he came into contact with through all of these lands, that's what he's talking about. So you can have a context. Read.
All the nations and people I had hitherto passed through resembled our own in their manners, customs, and language.
So if he was practicing Hebrew customs, and the people he came into contact with was practicing Hebrew customs, then that tell you that they was Hebrews too, which is what we say, right? The Ashanti, right? The Ewe, right? The entire Akan family, the Igbos. All of these people were Hebrews, okay? And they knew it. Aluda gonna touch on it. Read.
But I came at length to a country, the inhabitants of which differed from us in all those particulars.
So now he's talking about coming to a place, right, where, you know, just before he set sail, you know, on the coast, he's dwelling with another African people, different people. He says that they're different from them. Okay, he was like, this is a place that was unlike whatever I was familiar with. Let's see why they was different.
I was very much struck with this difference, especially when I came among a people who did not circumcise.
What? That's Hebraic culture. Okay? We identify strangers as the uncircumcised when you read in the Bible. It was unclean for us. So he coming across people that don't practice these things. He's like, yo, these people are unclean. Right? He almost sounds like an elitist. He's like, these people are uncircumcised. You know, he sounds like a Pharisee almost, right? Read.
And ate without washing their hands.
Whose custom was that? Hebraic custom. You can find all of these things in the scrolls. Circumcision, washing of hands, right? Read.
They cooked also in iron pots.
Okay.
And they cooked also in iron pots.
Right, read.
And had European cutlasses and crossbows.
Okay, this is profound, right? They had European weapons. Now, who knows anything about how, you know, the Europeans took over the West Africans, right? What did they do? They traded weapons, right? Did the Europeans not give rivaling African tribes outdated weapons, right? For sources such as slaves, you know, the African tribes would be like, all right, you give us some weapons, we'll give you some manpower, right? We'll give you, you know, different goods. So Aluda is explaining all of this. He's saying this people had European weapons, and it was weird because they didn't circumcise, and they did other stuff too,
which were unknown to us, and fought with their fists amongst themselves.
Right? They was in much strife, okay? They sound like very primitive people, okay? Read.
Their women were not so modest as ours, but they ate and drank and slept with their men.
See, now, it was Hebraic culture that we all slept in different quarters. Okay, the man slept in the different quarters, the woman had different quarters, especially because when a woman was on her cycle, she needed to be separated. So he's saying, yo, these women, you know, and we follow the ways of the Gentiles right now, because he's saying these women, they did everything with their male counterpart. He's saying these people are unclean. Read.
But above all, I was amazed to see no sacrifices or offerings among them.
They had no sacrifices or offerings. Where else was this custom besides the Bible? I mean, brothers and sisters, at some point, you have to take fact for fact. I mean, you just got to look at the truth. This is an actual Igbo. This is no commentary. This is his personal narrative. He's telling you what's up. And mind you, he's saying that the African peoples that he was amongst was completely different than his people, right? Now, when you look at that history, it's profound, because it's showing you that Israel did not put in captivity Israel. It was part of Psalms 83, the tumult, right? And the people that have taken crafty counsel, one of them is the sons of Ham. So it was the Hamites that put Israel into captivity, not Israel. Because people say, well, if you come from West Africa, if the Israelites was in West and South Africa, then, you know, then they sell each other into slavery. It's like, well, maybe there's a few exceptions, but by and large, no. Because they knew who they were back then. Remember, Africa is very tribal. We the only people now, we claim the whole continent Africa. How lost is that? Brothers, I'm African. That don't even make no sense. Okay? These brothers, historically, they was like, I'm Igbo, I'm Ewe, okay? I'm Ashanti, right? So the Hamites knew who the Hebrews were, and they sold them into slavery. Aluda Equiano is accounting this fact. Read. We almost done.
In some of those places, the people ornamented themselves with scars, and likewise filed their teeth very sharp.
These are just pictures that you see like on National Geographic. They try to say all Africans look like this, with the plates in their mouth, and the stuff in their ears, and the cuts in their body. You know, those are Hamites. Our ways are separate from others when we know who we are. Okay, read.
They wanted sometimes to ornament me in the same manner, but I would not suffer them, hoping that I might sometime be among a people who did not thus disfigure themselves, as I thought they did.
So he rejected them trying to disfigure him as they did to themselves. Why? Let me get Leviticus 19, chapter 19, verse 28. Let me get that out. I'm gonna show you why he rejected that.
It's the book of Leviticus, chapter 19, verse 28. You shall not make any cuttings in your flesh for the dead, nor print any markings upon you. I am the Most High.
The Most High has spoken. It's an abomination for us to do that. Okay? So he kept the law. Aluda Equiano. So I ask you, in conclusion of this part, right? Who had our best interest in mind? Them? Or them? All right?
On the seventh day, march around the city 7 times. Then the priests should make a long blast with the ram's horn. As soon as you hear the sound of the trumpet, people shall shout a great shout.